Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of the Sunday Soul Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lisa Brewer, and today, this week, we're going to talk about 3 things that I've learned in my 54 years on this earth, as this is my birthday, and I hope that this helps you as well. So welcome to the podcast. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Sunday Soul Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lisa Brewer. I am a doctor of metaphysics and divinity, so I'm not an MD, okay? So just so we're clear. But I am really excited to come to you this week. For those of you that get to see the video of this, my title is Birthday Queen. And so at the time of the recording of this on July the 17th, 2022, I had to think about what year it was for a moment. Not sure if I was moving around timelines or what was going on. But at the time of this recording, it's the day after my birthday. I have just turned a young, vibrant, excited 54 years old. And I thought I would just take a brief moment, as I do almost every year. Every year I reflect on the previous years and the previous year and then past. But I don't always put something out here to share with you a little glimpses and glimmers of wisdom that I have gained definitely over the last year that has just turned on in my life. So here I am talking to you as a 54-year-old mother of 3 adult children, grandmother of 2 beautiful granddaughters, having been in corporate America, an ordained minister. I have my own business now. I'm a woman-owned entrepreneur. I have Lightworker Academy, Heart of Inspiration. I'm a shaman, a Reiki master, oracle psychic, tarot reader, astrologer, coach, teacher, mentor. There's a whole lot of different labels, right? I mean, I can keep going on and on and on with all the labels. You know, the melanated woman, the melanated, single mother, North American indigenous, part of the Creek Indian tribe. We can continue to go on. Prophetess, this, that, the third, auntie. What I really, as I was contemplating this yesterday and a few days prior, I think the number one thing that I learned over this past year of my life is how to be aware of the label, but not care for the label, and not follow the label instructions. So what do I mean by that? I'm very aware of all of the labels that exist in the third dimensional realm. Very aware. I'm not one of these light worker, 5D, shaman, whatever you want to call it, awakened beings, whatever, that is going to sit here and try to tell you that I'm not aware of all the labels. I'm still having a 3D existence. And we're going to get to that in a minute. So I'm aware of all of them. And there are moments in time where they are extremely useful. There are moments in time where they are necessary for me to relate my message to the world at hand, to send a signal out on a frequency that's going to ping off of the receptor for that same signal, for that same frequency. And that, can be a client, a significant other, a friend, what have you, even a particular family member that I might need right now, right? Soul or physical. So the label in and of itself carries a frequency of energy. If you're aware of that because you've been living under those labels up until recently, or you're trying to break free from those labels, or you're living under the constriction of those labels, then you're going to really want to pay attention to what I'm saying here. Those labels carry a frequency with them. If you solely look at those labels and live underneath them, you're going to live with all the good, the bad, and the ugly that resonates with that frequency. So when I say that I am aware of the label, but I don't care for the label, and I certainly don't follow the label care instructions. When I say that to you, this is what I mean. I am aware of the label. However, I don't care for that, to use that as a label for me. I don't care to put that label on me. And there's sometimes, a lot of times, most of the times, I honestly don't care if you don't care. I mean, if you care. You get offended because I refuse to put a label on me. That's not on me, that's on you. Because by my not putting that label on myself, I also don't follow the care instructions. Y'all know everything now there's not so many labels on our clothing. It used to be all the time. And that's not a Mandela effect. There are clothes that have labels in them still, and there used to be all of them. There was no such thing as a labelless t-shirt or, open face cardigan or something. That didn't exist. So the label care instructions, the care instructions on the label tell you how to do what? How to care for the garment or whatever it is you're looking at. How to wash it, whether or not you can get it wet. The label on your pots and pans or your dishes or your mugs, your coffee mugs. I mean, every new coffee mug I get has a label that'll say whether or not it's dishwasher safe or not. Your clothing will say whether or not, what temperature to wash it in, what soap to use or not use. Don't use bleach. Do use bleach. Don't dry on high. Line dry only. Whatever the case. Don't iron. Whatever the case may be. Those are instructions to keep that piece of clothing intact. So it lasts long. It doesn't lose its color, doesn't lose its shape, doesn't lose its elasticity. It looks good on you time after time after time after time, wash after wash after wash. That's what that's designed for, right? So that's what a label does, and what label care instructions, that label for its, and those care instructions are specific to the label. So if you know what the instructions are that are specific to that label, I could be aware of that label, but I don't choose to put that label on my back. And because I don't choose to put that label on my back, therefore, then what happens? I also don't choose to abide by the care instructions or the instructions upon which I'm supposed to operate underneath that label to maintain the frequency, if it is negative, of that particular label. So there are some labels I would gladly take on, and I gladly integrate that frequency into my being. Shaman, oracle, psychic, spiritual mother, spiritual business coach, healer, teacher, mentor, doula for the spiritual realm, a catalyst for quantum creation. My gosh, Reiki master teacher, what else? Tarot reader, astrologer, seer. You can go on with any of those. Star seed, light worker, light warrior, the dreaded W word. All of those things I take on, Akashic record reader, and I integrate them into my being, and I accept them and I welcome them. Thriving business owner, media business owner, spiritual media. So I take those on and I integrate those with that frequency. Helper of many, value bringer, way shower. Way shower is a good one. I've really been integrating that a lot this last year. So the first thing I want you to do is figure out what labels you want to keep, and those ones you want to keep. Sure. Do I still care for a label? No, because energy is energy is energy, but I'm going to take some of them. They're useful. I'm leaving the others. Because when I have decided, as I've decided and made a clear cut, boom, I am no longer operating under these assumptions and these labels with these instructions. I am aware that there are other people that are. And so I'm going to say to you, these are the things in the past I have been called. This is who I am now, goddess, divine one, embodiment of the divine feminine and the divine masculine in the proper balance and order. So I take those on, but I'm leaving those. So I'm going to send the bat signal out and say, hey, I've got a way for you to get out of here. I have something that might help you raise the vibrational set point of where you're at right now. But I don't subject myself to be under those labels. So I don't follow those instructions. That was huge for me this year. And you will see that play out in my coming year. Speaking of all these labels and this and that and the third and the fourth and the fifth, the other thing I've really integrated into my being this year, or recognized this year, one other thing, is just how destructive organizations of power are. And when I say organizations of power, I mean of any power. How destructive they can be if they are not based in desiring to have the highest good, helping humanity, service to others. And a side note to that is how quickly a group of people that think the same way can become a loose organization, and how quickly one can become a part of it without knowing. Now, why do I say that? Because I've just noticed, especially in the spirituality community, especially in the coaching community, especially into those who serve coaches community, in the healer community, all of these things. There are lines of demarcation that are happening. There's separations even amongst this group that are happening. And if you don't think a certain way or espouse a certain belief system, very specific, and you deviate from any of it, you're kind of kicked out of the group. And if you spout the majority of it, though, the group will kick you out, but the people will associate you with this mythical kind of group. I don't know how many of you that are listening to me watch YouTube, but those of you that do, I want you to think about what's recently happened, like with the whole Amber Heard, Johnny Depp trial, right? So all of a sudden, people recognize that there was this mythological, I'll just call it loose group called LawTube. Now, is there a formal LawTube? No, there's not. There's no organization. There's no subset on YouTube that's specifically LawTube. It doesn't have its own specific, situation. It's not like YouTube TV or YouTube Premiere or YouTube Music or YouTube Gaming. There's no YouTube LawTube. Doesn't exist. And yet what happens is a group of people with a common action. And that common action was they were all streaming the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial and giving their commentary. Either they were live streaming it or they were on other people's larger channels live streams as this huge collaboration. And it was great for all the lawyers that are on YouTube that were participating in this, aka LawTube. Now, there are some people that are not a part of LawTube, but are lawyers that were streaming this. They didn't go around to all these, few major groups, right, or channels. So I say that to say this. All of a sudden now there's LawTube. Well, there's been at least one very problematic LawTuber that does a lot of strikes and for nothing because they don't like the parodies or they don't like the memes or they don't like the clips or they don't like how they look or are being presented or when they're being called out on when they do something that's a lot negative and very detrimental to channels. That person then, there was this call for people outside of LawTube who were getting struck by this person. There was a call for the rest of these LawTubers to get your boy. Well, what had been a very small, tight-knit, not really nobody really was taking it. They weren't really paying attention. There was a LawTube, but it wasn't really LawTube. Once it became a thing, all of a sudden, then there becomes some level of power, and then there becomes power struggles within. And I congratulate the majority of the LawTubers in that they didn't get suckered into that. I think a few of them kind of decided they wanted to wear the crown, not recognizing what the heck that was really going to mean and not recognizing how heavy that crown is. There were others that have a crown but they choose not to really flaunt it and only use that power when necessary. But when something becomes an organization in any way, then there become factions within, and then it becomes detrimental because division starts. That is a natural, low vibrational human thing to do. It's to become more, if you think about it, 5D, and we're going to roll into this right now, 3D and 5D, the difference really between the densities is the density of the dimensions. And so as something becomes more, right, organized, if you will, becomes more dense. As it becomes more dense, it becomes more immovable. As it becomes more immovable and thick, you don't flow as well. So why was that important for me? Because I just recognized that as much as possible, I do not want to be associated with any one group except my own. And as much as possible, maintain the flow of energy through my group, through the Heart of Inspiration, the corporation itself. And I'll probably do something, a separate special, what did I learn about spiritual infused businesses? I'll follow that up. That's important. But try it. But I just want you to look at, have you become part of an organization or a faction, however loose, and has that created a very dense echo chamber for you where you're not able to hear other points of view without getting, I don't mind passionate, I mind erratic. I mind that you're just like standing and you can't see anything else, right? You just can't see, you don't understand anything else. So that's the second thing. The third thing, and I think I'll let y'all go because I've been talking a little bit longer than I anticipated. But the third thing I've learned is to not allow judgment to creep in. And it's easy for that to happen. I'm seeing a lot of dissension in the ranks, so to speak, with people saying, well, if you all are living it so much in 5D, then how come you're still, participating on TikTok, or, you're still posting, you're still here. I can still say, you're not in 5D. And you all are being condescending and judgmental. I see that a lot. On the other hand, I see a lot of those that theoretically have made it to 5D, or maybe they have, I don't know. I'm not judging anybody's ascension, but I see a lot of them with a lot of vitriol and a lot of condemnation. If you participate in any of what's happening out here, it could be medical, it could be political, it could be, if you're on the wrong side politically, and this is for both sides. If you're not doing this, or you are doing that, if you're not meditating in this way and astral traveling every time you meditate, then all of a sudden, then you're not awakened. Or if you're not living a 5D life, then, you're trash and what's wrong with you? You call yourself living a 5D life, yet you blah, 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 blah. I'm tired. Like I said, at least there are some things I will say I can be a tad bit judgmental in. And it happens. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm perfect. But I'm working very hard to not be, to be neutral as I approach everything. It was so apparent that what's happening in the spiritual community is that we are becoming so much like a lot of the communities we left. And that means that we've become extremely partial and judgmental. It's so sad. It's so sad. Listen, guys, just because you may not be having the same experience that I'm having, or just because I might not be having the same precise, exact experience that you're having, does not make me right and you wrong. It does not make you right and me wrong. I had to think about that. It is what it is. I can't judge your experience. And I'm learning that it's really the individual's experience and what maybe they came here to learn or not to learn or whatever, that I'm looking at through my lens. Now, can we learn from each other? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that I shouldn't, that we shouldn't recognize that there are individual experiences that are being had. So if, for example, it's not your experience that you are recreating your 3D simultaneously while living 5D. In other words, you're allowing your spirit to lead you and guide you and actually take control over everything that happens in the 3D. If that's not your experience, okay. I don't know if that's meant to be a part of your experience this go around. I don't know if that's something that you chose to that you chose a ride on the in the theme park that is life that you chose to get on. You might not have chosen that one, and maybe I did. It doesn't make either one of us right. It doesn't make either one of us wrong. It just means that we're having individual experiences. When you can free yourself for that, it gets so much easier to kind of navigate the first two things I talked about. You know why? Because whatever labels you that are operating in your life and that you wish to operate in your life, that's your experience. Whatever organizations, loose or truly organized, that you wish to be a part of, that's your choice. I can't and won't judge them any longer because I'm super tired of everybody judging me. It hit home. It hit home this as I was contemplating that I perhaps have held back certain things. I perhaps have held back how I present myself on my personal Facebook or how I do this or how I do that. I've held back because I was concerned about what labels I would get put on me and how people would perceive me, and then what that would mean, what organization would they associate me with, and how would that impact me. You choosing whatever it is you want is your business. Me choosing to not participate in as many of those as possible is mine. And so I do that from this place of neutrality and of compassion for the human experience. And so when I use certain labels, I'm not using it in a way to denigrate or to strengthen the fear, control, enslavement, division, power play that is that others are meaning to use it for. I'm using it to say, yep, those of you that utilize that label, hear me. Hear me. Come here. Let's do this. Let's help you get off from underneath everything that you're in. What's going on? Let's help heal. If you need some certification, great. Set your business up, great. If you just want to come hang out, monthly and grow, right? And prosper. Great. Come on over. Come on in the room. Like, I got a lot of rooms. I got a big old mansion, and my mansion has many, many houses in it. Many, many rooms in it. Houses in the mansion. But it's okay. So that whole thing had to go. And one more thing. So I hope you guys see where that can be powerfully used. I hope that helped a little bit here, right? One more thing. I want you all to know that any of you that I have at some point during this past year or years prior, I've ever offended you, I apologize. I could tell you it was unintentional. Well, unless it was intentional. But by and large, it's unintentional. And so I apologize if I made anyone feel like, I don't want anyone to feel like they're being used or whatnot, or attacked, or made to feel less than. I don't always say everything perfect, and I don't always have all the answers. And sometimes I get a little bit too caught up in some day-to-day stuff. But just know this, no matter what has ever occurred between us, I love you, and I have love for you. And I don't wish ill on you. And it was never my intention nor my desire to offend. Sometimes people are just meant to go their separate ways, and sometimes we create relationships that just aren't necessarily meant to be. And I'm certainly guilty of that, because my immediate is, hey, how can I help? How can I solve? But that's me needing to fix some of that in me. Okay. So it's just not the right synchronicity and not the right resonance. And so I am sorry. I apologize. Please forgive me for my part in that. To everyone, I love all of you. I thank all of you for the support of this podcast. This podcast is now the launching pad and the takeoff point for so much. And it will be in the very near future for so much more. So I thank each and every one of you for listening. Please share this podcast. We're going to have many, many more fantastic guests. We're going to be starting to bring a panel up here on a regular basis. And you're going to find some offshoot podcasts from the Sunday Soul podcast too. So, we've got some great stuff coming up. And, you might see us drop more than just on Sunday, or we might drop multiple episodes on Sunday and then just choose one that we're going to have a panel in regard to. But listen, thank you for all the birthday wishes. I appreciate you. Ways to get in touch with me and to find out a little bit more about everything. It's in the show notes, guys. It's a link tree. And feel free to go on and kind of peruse around everywhere. Otherwise, if I don't hear from you soon, leave a comment and share and like and follow and all the things. I don't have all the podcast lingo down, so y'all have to excuse me on that. But do all the things. Thank you very much. And let's help one another get our message out. Peace, love, blessings, and joy be unto you today, tomorrow, and for all eternity. I love each and every one of you. Namaste.